Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Black Heart is signing black in and shining again, asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger at this point. It always has been. As I record this, I just saw that Harvey Weinstein last night, my time, was actually convicted of some charges, but I think the two most serious charges he was acquitted of. They were going to try to come back with a hung jury, and the judge said, no, you have to come back with the decision and it must be unanimous. This being said, I'm not covering this message about that, but what I am doing is that I'm simply recording this message to tell you brothers that you need to have a serious talk with your young men, your young relatives, your young brothers, your young cousins, sons, even in some cases, and you need to let them know that for the most part their sexuality and their genitals are being attacked, and the exceptions to this are the men that are exceptionally tall or exceptionally wealthy. This is a sad thing to say, and I'm not saying this necessarily to lament, but to describe what we need to tell these young guys. Harvey Weinstein was convicted. He's also in pretty bad shape now, but he was doing this stuff when he was young and getting away with it. He's still wealthy though. And he almost didn't get convicted. He almost walked out with no charges, an exonerated man. Bill Cosby did not, and he's in now for grabbing one non-existent breast. And even as I say that, people are going to say to me, well, Blackheart, you can't make fun of that woman just because her breasts are small and she's thin. No, I'm actually not even making fun of her. I'm simply saying she doesn't have it. If this dude is going, if he's in the breast, then he's in the breast. And people need to study sexual psychology. We men have to study women's sexual psychology, and we still ain't figured them out. Women get to make up stuff that doesn't even make logical sense according to anyone's sexual psychology, and they can get him thrown in prison if he's black or if he's poor. Now, if he's poor and black, or just not rich and black, it's even easier. Kobe was exonerated because they actually looked at the evidence thinking they were going to prove that he raped this woman, and they found that he didn't, and they didn't lie about the evidence. Kobe was not alpha enough to escape this. Now, you would think that if a woman finally gives in and has sex with a guy that's not alpha enough and she gets caught in the act or someone makes fun of her for it, then she would feel embarrassed and decide to go ahead and scream rape. You would think that, and that if he's alpha enough, then she'd brag about it and she wouldn't have an incentive to do it. But, you know, even Kobe got caught up with that. But let's take a look at Frankie Considine, the lady out of the UK. I want you to tell these young brothers, like I'm going to tell the young guys in my family, that Frankie Considine is a damn shame. She was diagnosed with a sexual addiction. And she said in all cases that she did it because she wanted to feel close to someone because her dad worked all the time. It wasn't her father that abandoned the family. It was the mother. The mother moved out. I don't know if she abandoned, but they divorced. But it was the mother that moved out. She lived with her dad because her dad was actually working to take care of her. She had to spend a lot of time alone, and therefore she she started screwing at 14, trying to be close to someone. And I want you guys to keep this in mind too. And Frankie Considine, she's nice to look at as far as faces go. But Frankie Considine is also big, and in the UK with white dudes that doesn't fly. Maybe with brothers, but not with white dudes in the UK. Frankie Considine, additionally, she said she wanted to feel close, but she admitted that she cheated on her boyfriend. She was cheating on her boyfriend, but she wanted to feel close. She then broke up with the boyfriend, but she wanted to feel close. Her sexual addiction, she says, was tied to some need for emotional intimacy, closeness. But she cheated on and kicked out the guy that offered this to her. So stop and think for a second about how illogical that sounds. And see, you got to tell these young brothers that this is what's going on. Now, your sisters don't want you to tell your nephews. Your sisters-in-law may not want you to tell your nephews. Your baby mamas don't want you to tell your sons. Your mothers don't want you to tell your younger brothers. Your grandmoms don't want you to tell your cousins. Your aunts don't want you to tell your cousins. Your uncles may not want you to tell your cousins. You still need to, when you can, you still need to spell this out for them and let them know that this is what's going on. And this is not completely uncommon. Now, she's one of only 660,000 sex addicts in the UK. But I want you to understand that although that may not be common because she got a diagnosis, you need to tell them that the kind of effery that she is doing is quite common. How so? Upwards of 130, including 4 in a day. Okay? By her own admission. And she can sit up and blame the divorce and the death of her mother and her dad working. And she can kind of get exonerated for that. Okay, Tiger Woods lost his father. Tiger Woods also had busloads of Swedish or Scandinavian bikini models coming after him. That's not my type, but apparently that was his because, you know, he Kabbalah Asian. But the fact is, he was consistently getting hit up, and he had to give $100 million to his wife. He committed adultery. I understand why she would have acted a father-mucking fool. But the fact is, a white guy with Tiger Woods' money could have cheated on his wife, and his wife would have tried to cover it up and said, no, he didn't cheat. He was home with me at the time y'all say he was doing this. But she was able to run off with $100 million. And punish the black man for cheating on her. Because the way that white women feel, black men should not cheat on them. That's one of the things that they tend to feel. White guy might cheat on him, especially if he's got that money, but a black man does not cheat on him. So notice that, understand that too, and let these guys know. But see, Considine is doing one thing that is really, 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 really insulting right now. She is saying she wants to turn over a new leaf. Great. But she's going public with her face and with her name. And she's saying, I block guys that talk about sex too early. Women block men that don't talk about sex. And they go screw someone else that does. And Frankie Considine is saying, I used to be a slut. I would call off work if I could have sex. She was a sex addict. Now, all of a sudden, she wants to block guys that bring up the subject. So, and as big as she is, she's looking to settle down and get a commitment. So what she's saying is, I used to do all of this back then. I was the one you would have gladly gotten to know at that point. But now that I am older and I've done all of this and I got a body count higher than almost any man will ever get, except maybe 13% of the men. Now you have to come to me respectfully. And when they say respectfully, that means don't bring up sex. Don't try to get none. That's what she's sitting up and saying. I got a daughter, but you need to come at me putting sex off. She is insulting every man that she's going to come across later on that will consider dealing with her romantically in any way, in or outside of a marriage. She is insulting every single guy that does this. The only men that are fit for her are the ones who have equal or higher body counts. And those guys are generally the 13% that all the women want and they don't have to commit. Or they're porn actors, former porn actors, older porn actors. And they may have 5,000 scenes, but a few women. They may have done multiples with the same women. I'm basing this off an interview that a porn star gave. He said he didn't know how many women, but it was 5,000 scenes he had done. So, you know, the point I'm making is that it's going to take somebody like that who obviously doesn't have a reason to settle for just one in order to be any good for her. And these young guys need to understand that she's the one that came out and said this stuff. She pretty much said who she is. She didn't hide who she is and what she's looking for. So this is what makes it better for these guys about her. But the world, the markets, POF, Tinder, these places are crawling with women like that with the same expectation. I will screw everybody but you. You're going to come along and you're going to be more respectful. It was all about sex with these other guys, but now that it's you, we're not going to make it all about sex, okay? And I'm a Muslim who doesn't believe in fornication, let alone adultery, telling you how disrespectful this is, how insulting that kind of deal is. See, many people would think, okay, well, you know, Blackheart, you Muslim, so what you should do is you should respect the fact that she's trying to turn over a new leaf. Yeah, I would respect that fact if she was looking for a guy who had done the same things that she has done. No, she's looking for somebody that doesn't have that same experience. She's probably looking for guys who don't have kids to help her raise her daughter. Looking for guys who don't know any better so that she can do this. And then what is she going to do? We already know what's coming down the pipe for that dude. She ain't going to be faithful to the same kind of guy she's looking for. She's looking for them for utilitarian reasons. She is going to cheat. And she's going to cheat with the kind of guys that she was hooking up with back then. We understand this because this is what she did previously and she got away with it. And so consequently, I'm telling you, gentlemen, you're going to have to disobey and defy and disrespect the wishes of your lady relatives or your baby's mothers to tell the younger men in your family what is out there. Frankie Considine is an example because she came out and said it and she was diagnosed with a sex addiction. There are many others like her that do not get the diagnosis. They don't come out and say it, whether they're even sex addicts or not. The point is that there are many others out there like that that are simply going to do a whole bunch of nasty things when they're younger, and then they're looking for guys that they don't deserve when they get older to pay the price for it, to rescue them from these decisions. She's caught STIs. She's had an abortion. And she's going to be looking for guys who are childless and have maybe had 2 or 3 partners one time. She's going to be looking for these guys. But then when she needs to scratch that itch, she's going to go looking for someone else. She would not dare scratch the itches of these guys that have had maybe 2 or 3 partners. She doesn't even care about their satisfaction. They need her to bend over that couch a little bit, do some twerking while they're in there. That's what they need. She doesn't give a rat's behind. She's not even going to try with them. Their job is utilitarian and completely non-sexual. And that's most men that they see. That's it. So, gotta let these young cats know. And to do it, you're going to have to defy the wishes of your lady relatives. I could tell you now that a lot of ladies in my family are not going to want me telling my younger cousins about what the games are. They're not going to like that. I'm going to have to do it anyway. When I see them, I'm just going to have to let them know. These are the games that are going to be played, man. They're going to play these games on you. You with someone now, you got to watch out for these games even then. Because believe you me, they're looking out to make sure that you don't have it too easy in your life. I mean, they're literally, actually, if you really want to know the truth, calculating just to make sure that things aren't too good for you. They will actually sometimes decide not to do something that doesn't cost them anything, but sometimes they're just simply not going to do certain things just to make sure that you're not spoiled. You're not being spoiled. Even if it would help them out. So you have to understand that there are going to be games they play, young blood. That's what I got to tell them. And those of us in the audience, well, we know this. That's why we're in this audience. But we got to be more aggressive about letting them know. And we got to remember these cases like Frankie Considine, the names. And tell them, look, the problem is not that every woman is a Frankie Considine. That's not it. Just like every man is not the guy that she slept with. Matter of fact, she didn't sleep with most men. They could not have gone to her. Most men could not have found someone like her when all they needed was a quick nut. They couldn't have found someone like her when all they would have needed was several quick nuts in a row. Many could have simply not found someone like her because she would have swiped left many times. I think that's what it is, swiping left. I haven't been on those sites, but point is, she would have curbed a lot of them. The issue is not that everyone's like her. The issue is that the ones like her are enough to where every guy tends to get pursued by them, and the ones that are not like them, well, they're already taken. So the older you get, actually, the more likely you are to bump into these women because they're going to come looking for you. That's what the real truth of the matter is. And let's take that as an example. Let's take that Orbit's gum commercial to which Donovan Sharp referred in his video, of which he reposted a short clip yesterday, and he was on point about it. What you got to understand is this. A lot of guys tend to look at these videos and say, she's doing him a favor. His life's going to be better for it. That's not really what happens. In actuality, when women are like the one in that video, what they really do in real life is they don't run out on the wedding. They go through with it, and they cheat, and they take you for half. That's it. They're just not going to go through with, they're just not going to go through with running away, actually, freeing you up. Because they know that if they just run out, that your life's going to be better for it. You're going to have to go on. You got to move on. And you're going to keep with everything you got, and she ain't going to get none of it. They know this. They understand that. When you actually have those things that the commercial says that man has, what's going to really happen is, well, as you know, what's really going to happen is nothing more than that. She's going to go through with it. She's already screwing somebody else, and that's what's going to happen. And then later on, she'll run out on you when she's entitled to alimony and half and whatever else. That's what they do in real life. Now, it's not that every woman is like that. The problem is that there are enough of them that are like that to where they're going to come and seek you out. And the good ones, they won't say two words to you. The women that don't play those kinds of games, they're already taken, or they're just not trying to be with anyone at all for whatever reason. There are women that don't mean any harm. They're just very career oriented. Later on, they really don't mean any harm. Later on, they're just too old and they stay by themselves. And the men that actually, don't mind women their age, they're already taken. That's what actually happens in many cases. And we got to let these guys know, man, the game is vicious. It's almost designed for good people to never find each other, especially when they're young. And then if they don't see these games that are going to be played right off the bat, then they're going to start planning their lives in the West, surrounded by these kinds of women, and eventually growing older and being chased after and pursued by nothing but women that have no good intentions for them. Like Frankie Considine. Well, I'd like for you to commit to me. I'm turning over a new leaf right now, and we're not going to have sex anytime soon. Looking for women like this, but she's bringing a daughter that she had out of wedlock. Insulting these men's genitals. Their very genitals are being insulted. Simply because they're normal men as opposed to exceptional. That's what it really comes down to. So hearing this said, in all honesty, man, it's funny because nowadays in the West, the men who are the least insulted are the ones that go into adult films when I think about it. They get insulted the very least by women. But they look what they got to do it. I mean, morally speaking, a lot of you guys may say, yeah, man, it sounds like fun. Well, they actually get paid less, a hell of a lot less than the women they're working with. I read those stats decades ago. And think about what that does to them. I mean, they may go through hundreds actually, but that actually does do something to their minds. It's not necessarily good for them either. But the point I'm making is that they wind up being the least insulted, actually. So, and frankly, most men can't get into that industry. The women will tell you that. The women will say, we determine which men get into the industry, and we determine which men get to stay in the industry. And it ain't that many. Some of the lady actors said this. So, this being said, man, you got to let these young brothers know, bro, as long as they stay in the West, they're going to be insulted just for being normal. because these women are doing things that are abnormal, and then they're coming along and trying to get these normal dudes to come and pick up the tab later on. And these men are being told that their civilization and that their forward thinking requires them to accept this kind of thing. They're not allowed to have an issue with it. They're not allowed to say, hell no, I'm not doing this. I don't owe you that, and I'm not taking care of you. You stank, crotch, cuss word. These are the things that they're not allowed to say. But the women can sit up and say, ooh, you're creepy because not enough of my friends have noticed you, but you're noticing me. They can say that. Oh, you asked me for my number, but you're not my type. I'm going to HR on you. Sometimes even the police. But when they do respond, if you are the guy that actually asks for phone numbers and they do respond, then you have to wonder what the hell kind of past they're bringing you. And in real life, it ain't the ones that have a decent past that you can deal with that are saying to you, okay, yeah, sure, here's my number. They ain't the ones doing that. The ones that are saying, yeah, okay, here's the number, let's talk about it, are the ones that have a bad past. That's what they're bringing. And that's why they're willing to give you a shot, because they know that it's a bad deal for you and a good deal for them. And they won't accept it any other way, to be honest with you. It has to be a bad deal for you and a good deal for them, because they've already marked you as inferior, not because you're inferior, but because you're normal. And as I said, no man is ever alpha enough. Not even Johnny Depp. Like I said yesterday. So, that being said, man, we got to let these young brothers know what's going out there. We got to let them know that Frankie Considine is actually more common than what we think. They don't all have a sexual addiction diagnosis. They're not even all sex addicts. But we need to make them understand that that kind of hypocrisy and that sort of unjust thinking and expectation and demand, oh, that's very common. That actually is the standard of the game in the West. And these guys need to understand that that's the reason why they should plan their lives in the long term elsewhere. And they should also understand that when they go, they got to make one thing clear to whichever woman comes into their lives in these other countries, and that is, if you act like that woman I left behind across the ocean, I'm going to leave your ass too. Because women across the ocean are being encouraged. I'm already seeing it. My man in Malaysia was telling me about it. 2 women in a row trying to act like these women in Western countries. 2 women in a row in a country where this type of thing is not even normal. What is that coming from? They're looking at Instagram, Twitter, and TV, Western TV, and they're trying to live that same life. They want to do all the same stuff and get away with it. And they don't understand that the happy endings in the movies for these little sluts and thoughts are not what happens in real life. They don't understand that in real life, these women in the states that act like this wind up old, unwanted by anybody, only allowed sexual contact with no real intimacy or respect or commitment. And when they get too old, even for that, they live with their cats. Because them children, them babies that they aborted when they were younger are not going to be there to take care of them later on. And then sometimes when they raise these kids as single mothers, some of these kids cannot go back and deal with them, let alone take care of them. They need to understand that. And who better to tell them this? The Eastern men can't tell them this because they're not living where we have lived and grown up and finding this out. So who's going to have to tell them this? It's going to have to be us when we go abroad. And tell these young brothers that when they go abroad, they need to tell the women the same thing so that the women do understand they might not want to act like this. They need to keep this in mind. We need to keep this in mind and tell them to keep that in mind for the future, so that we don't accidentally incentivize any woman in the world to keep acting like Frankie Considine with her big self. Look like she could stop a car. If Thanos snapped his fingers right now, 2 weeks from now, she'd still be disintegrating. And here she is, got the nerve to talk about her new standards. And expects, because other women have succeeded in finding guys that will pay the tab for their bad decisions. And the only way to stop it is by us disrespecting the wishes of our lady relatives and telling our younger male relatives that this is the game. That's it. There you go. You see, in reality, in Genesis, God may have forbidden the eating of a particular fruit, but it wasn't necessarily to keep certain knowledge away from Adam and Eve. In reality, the daughters of Eve don't want us to have the particular knowledge that they have. That's the reality of the situation. God may be hiding malnutrition from you because that ain't good for you, but the daughters of Eve want the sons of Adam to have no clue what they really want and what's really most convenient for them, and what they're going to continue shooting for if they can get it. That's the real secret right there. It's probably the most major secret in the world. I think I said enough about it, and thanks for being patient because I've already gone over 25 minutes. But look, next recording is probably going to be of a religious nature. I plan to address the white supremacist brainwashing inherent in the Muslim world, and I'm going to have to go in and just rip up a scholar because of some racist stuff he said, thinking that it's not racist. So that being said, that's going to be the next one, inshallah. I may have to do another one before that, but right now my plan is to do that one next. I appreciate you all paying attention. I hope that one day all the things I've said aren't true anymore, and in the meantime, I hope they help. Black Heart, sign of blackout. Assalamu alaikum and black male power, just because she don't like it.